Number 15. Steve Wilkos hack. Ever wonder when and where the zombie apocalypse will begin? Well, according to one broadcast interruption in February 2013, it already has. In Great Falls, Montana, of all places, the breaking news interrupted an airing of The Steve Wilkos Show on KRTV. It was preceded by the emergency alert system attention signal, after which the convincing announcement that a zombie apocalypse was approaching threw every viewer for a loop.
Civil authorities in your area have reported that the bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. Follow the messages on screen that will be updated as information becomes available. Do not attempt to approach or apprehend these bodies as they are considered extremely dangerous.
You might think that people understood this as a joke. After all, who believes zombies are a real thing? It turns out plenty of Montanians do. Locals flooded the emergency services line with calls. The broadcast appeared so authentic and official that people truly thought the Walking Dead would soon be banging on the door, hungry for their brains. KRTV soon debunked the hoax, claiming that someone had hijacked their transmitting equipment. The FBI and the FCC believe the culprit isn't a homegrown prankster, but is hacking from abroad. Number 14. Skin-crawling old photo. If you were watching WJLA's ABC broadcast in July 2007, you might remember a terrifying image flashing inexplicably on screen, an old grainy photograph of what looked to be a mysterious elderly couple. This is what appeared momentarily when WJLA's signal jammed. The photo remains for a few seconds before vanishing from viewers' TV sets. Who were the people in the picture? What was it from? And why did it suddenly interrupt the broadcast? WJLA officials claimed they had a programming snafu and that the photo was a still from an Oprah Winfrey Show ad. Or maybe that's just what they want us to believe. According to Sierra Hernandez of The Taco, no YouTube videos or video accounts document this strange broadcast interruption. Was there something more sinister behind it? Number 13. Captain Midnight on HBO. HBO has brought viewers some of the best programs on television, but in April 1986, Captain Midnight wasn't part of HBO's regularly scheduled programming. The Falcon and the Snowman was airing, and while the spy drama film, based on a true story of two Americans who sold U.S. security secrets to the USSR, unfolded, the satellite feed from HBO's Long Island Operations Center was hacked. The film was interrupted by a few bars of color and a message from Captain Midnight. The message: "Good evening, HBO. From Captain Midnight, $12.95 per month? No way. Showtime movie channel beware." The colored bars stayed on screen in the East Coast between 4 and 5 minutes. The message seemed to imply that the hijacking would be done to Showtime and the movie channel as well, causing the FCC to try and sniff out the suspect. Just as the Falcon and the Snowman were eventually caught by the FBI, so was so-called Captain Midnight, aka John R. McDougal, and he was caught in the dumbest of circumstances. He was overheard boasting about hijacking the broadcast while in a phone booth at a rest area in Florida, near his hometown. McDougal worked a second job as a master control operator at the Florida Satellite Teleport, which is why he was able to hijack the broadcast. His first job was selling satellite dishes, a job that was no longer as lucrative, largely due to HBO's service rates, according to McDougal, which is the whole reason he sent this colorful message. The FCC confirmed this, and he was charged with transmitting without a radio license, which he pled guilty to. His sentence: 1 year probation and a $5,000 fine. Pretty paltry, considering he interrupted everyone's viewing pleasure for 5 whole minutes. Number 12. The Intergalactic Association transmission. On November 26, 1997, the Southern television broadcast in the United Kingdom was interrupted for 6 minutes by an alien from outer space. Yes, you heard that correctly. Earthlings beware. We now have aliens hijacking our TV programming. The so-called representative of an intergalactic association went by the name of Áron and interrupted ITN's Andrew Gardner of the early evening news to deliver a cryptic warning. This voice was disguised and further distorted by a low buzzing noise. Once Áron was finished communicating this all-important message,
should prisoners of war allowing negotiations being arrested. In Australia.
The destiny of your race and your world, so that you may communicate to your fellow beings the course you must take to avoid the disaster which threatens your world and the beings on other worlds around you.
The transmission cut right back into a Looney Tunes episode. It was discovered that the Independent Broadcasting Authority's transmitter had been hijacked by the culprits, who had overridden the UHF audio signal to break into Southern television. Southern apologized to its viewers for the breakthrough in sound, as the culprits only broke the sound barrier, not the image. They were able to do this because the UHF television transmitter wasn't fed immediately by a landline, leaving it vulnerable to signal intrusion. Although the IBA said that doing so would entail a considerable amount of technical know-how, the culprits obviously had the amount of know-how needed, and they were never caught. The Intergalactic Association left most people scratching their heads and left others believing in aliens. Number 11. The interrupting content. Handy Manny. The Disney Playhouse animated show was interrupted by some pretty not child-friendly content back in 2007. The show follows Manny Garcia, a Hispanic handyman who has a great time fixing things with his tools that just so happen to see and talk. But one day, they stopped seeing and talking when a New Jersey broadcast of the Handy Manny program was suddenly interrupted by a man who was wearing a lot less clothing. This video only broke into the feed of Comcast subscribers in Lincroft, New Jersey. Comcast said they would figure out what went wrong and claimed it wouldn't happen again, but they failed as there was a repeat offense, this time in Tucson, Arizona, during the Super Bowl. Again, Comcast's programming of the Super Bowl paused, broke up, and cut to Club Jenna. The 30-second clip showed a woman undoing a man's pants, who then stands up, revealing his full frontal manhood for all of the Tucson Super Bowl audience to see. The broadcast returned to the game, leaving many viewers quite confused. KVOA and the Cox Cable Company claimed that the coverage was normal prior to reaching Comcast. Make no mistake, it wasn't an accident. The clip came from a pay-per-view program, so it wasn't a matter of crossed wires. It was purposefully placed there. Was the Tucson incident caused by the same New Jersey prankster? Is there a team of people across the states who get their kicks through sneak attacks? Or is this all some strange conspiracy? We may never know. Number 10. Losing my religion. Most of us sinners don't want to be preached to while committing our sins, but that's just what happened during a film called Three Daughters, being broadcast on the Playboy channel. You can imagine just how the film was unfolding the night of September 6, 1987, when it was rudely interrupted by God. Thus saith the Lord thy God, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The Bible verses, taken from Matthew 4:17 and Exodus 28, appeared in white text on a black background across the screen. While most on this list have gotten away with their satellite piracy, Virginia Beach resident Thomas Haney, an engineer at the Christian Broadcasting Network, was convicted 3 years later. Technical clues found in the hijacking pointed to CBN, although CBN spokespeople denied it, saying the equipment at CBN wasn't powerful enough to hijack Playboy's signal. Prosecutors found otherwise, and the jury agreed. Haney's sentence, 3 years probation, 150 hours community service, and a $1,000 fine. Geez, that's nothing. Almost makes you want to try it yourself. Number 9. Zombie Outbreak Emergency Radio Broadcast. Yet another zombie apocalypse. This time in Indiana. On March 1st of this year, 2017, the zombies came lurching into Randolph County, and an emergency announcement was made on radio station WZZY 983. Similar to the awakening in Great Falls, Montana, the live broadcast was interrupted with the emergency alert system tone and a realistic warning about a zombie emergency. The station quickly corrected the hoax, but likely not before many residents got out their shovels and spades to defeat the incoming brain-hungry zombie folk. Police later determined that WZZY's station had been hacked. The Randolph County, Indiana Sheriff's Department released an announcement on social media stating, local alerts from WZZY 983 FM regarding a zombie attack and disease outbreak from bodies as a result of the radio station alerting system being hacked. There is no local emergency. We have contacted the radio station and notified the Indiana Department of Homeland Security. Whether the hackers will eventually be found and charged has yet to be seen. Number 8. UFO interrupts live space station feed. UFO hunters are always on the lookout for alien spacecrafts, and they believe NASA is trying to hide sightings from them. NASA has been accused of purposefully cutting the International Space Station live feed whenever an extraterrestrial object appears. In fact, twice in January 2015, mysterious UFOs were spotted near the space station by UFO enthusiasts before the live feed purportedly cut out for 10 to 15 seconds. In one image, a gray UFO appeared to be making its way through outer space before the feed was quickly switched to another camera by NASA. Some claim the grayish speck was debris, others thought it might be the moon, but Toby Lunt, noted UFO watcher, has a different theory. NASA always cuts the feed when a UFO gets close to the station, he told Disclose.tv. According to Lunt, the still he caught of the feed quite clearly shows a UFO. Lunt also claims that NASA destroyed the records of this particular sighting in order to cover up any documentation of communication between UFOs and astronauts that apparently happens all the time. Many conspiracy theorists claim to have seen a mysterious object near the space station while astronauts Alexander Gerst and Reed Wiserman were spacewalking. Again, NASA claimed the mysterious object was likely a lens flare or speck of dust, but that didn't put a damper on the conspiracy party. Imperial College London Departments of Physics professor Andrew Boga must disagree with the skeptics, however. Generally speaking, UFO sightings are either explained by some artifact effect, even some space junk, or left unexplained as there is not enough evidence. He told Mail Online, if NASA has access to higher quality images, they may investigate further. It seems NASA has better things to do than to go around debunking every UFO hoax that comes across their desk. They haven't responded to these allegations of cutaways, but even if they did have something to say on the subject, it's unlikely this would dampen the spirit of conspiracy. The author of the UFO Investigations Manual, Nigel Watson, noted, the problem is that the more NASA denies such things or explains them, the more people think there is a conspiracy to hide the truth that aliens are visiting our planet. Number 7. Yosemite Sam. On December 19th, 2004, a strange number station surfaced by the name of Yosemite Sam. At least that's the nickname it was given due to the Looney Tunes character who interrupts the transmission frequencies with his catchphrase. The transmission occurs on numerous dual-side band shortwave frequencies, including 3700 kHz, 4300 kHz, 6500 kHz, and 10,500 kHz. The broadcast interruption begins with a 0.8 second data burst with Yosemite Sam in one frequency, before being repeated in the next higher frequency, and so on. This always starts at precisely 7 seconds after every hour in the exact same 2-minute pattern. No one knows why this mysterious live broadcast is interrupted by a cartoon character every hour. Though the recurring loony bit disappeared in 2004, it reappeared in 2005 with new frequencies added to the mix. The transmitter site is reportedly somewhere near Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the desert. A desertscape seems appropriate for Looney Tunes. Number 6. Solidarity. Another political broadcast hijacking occurred in 1985 on a Polish TV station operated by the state. Solidarity, a self-proclaimed communist party, interrupted the station to send the Polish government a message about social justice and workers' rights. The government had recently raised food prices, but not workers' wages, so while overworking, no Pole could afford scraps. But the political party had long had some issues with the government, which slowly led to the hijacking. The government had imposed martial law with the intention of ridding of the party entirely, a third of whom were old enough to be in the workforce. This issue had been going on for 2 years, and in 1985, during a normal news broadcast, it came to a head as Polish text scrolled over the broadcast. Enough price increases, lies, and repressions, it said. It was signed Solidarity Toruń, along with the Solidarity's logo. Lastly, it is our duty to boycott the election appeared on screen before cutting out. The culprits were eventually caught. Surprisingly, they weren't professional tech hackers, but rather 4 astronomy students from the University of Toruń in Poland. Number 5. Russia again. Russia is at it again with their broadcast interruptions. Only this time, their break-in was not so secret. Earlier this year, January 2017, C-SPAN was rudely interrupted by Russia Today, just as Representative Maxine Waters was discussing Securities and Exchange Commission regulations. The dull talk was broken up by a promotion for trips to San Escobar. A moment later, a Russia Today newscaster had taken over C-SPAN, and the takeover wasn't short-lived. By broadcast interruption standards, RT actually had the channel for 10 whole minutes before it was turned back over to C-SPAN. C-SPAN released the following statement about the incident on Twitter. This afternoon, the online feed for C-SPAN was briefly interrupted by RT programming. We are currently investigating and troubleshooting this occurrence. As RT is one of the networks we regularly monitor, we are operating under the assumption that it was an internal routing issue. If that changes, we will certainly let you know. With all the news lately about the election interference by the Russians, some believe this broadcast interruption was a hack perpetrated by Putin, just another way to undermine the US. Or like C-SPAN suggested, it could just be a routing mishap, but conspiracy theories abound. Number 4. The old tape. Classical music over radio airwaves sure doesn't sound too mysterious on paper, but when you give this random audio file a listen, you might find the cryptic recording a bit more chilling than you'd anticipated. The recording is said to have come from a radio station in the mid-90s. According to the post on the X-Paranormal boards, the original anonymous source of the recording explains that when he was around 15 years old, he would stay up late into the night listening to radio stations on his boombox. In order to record interesting songs, using an integrated tape recorder, he'd randomly dial to various stations and then record whenever he felt like it. This unsettling, mysterious audio file starts off with classical music, but crackles and fades into shrill shrieks, chants, whispers, and odd clanging noises that sound like bells. Number 3. The Russians are coming. Although this Cold War era station was nothing but recurring beeps to begin with, the intermediate interruptions into this puzzling live broadcast are where the real mysteries lies. UVB-76 is a station broadcast from Russia, believed to be transmitting since around the mid-70s. The first known recording of the station was in 1982. At first, it sent a series of repeated beeps out into the world. Then in 1992, the broadcast changed to one consistent buzzing sound, played alongside some beeping or other tones and noises. These additional noises occur roughly 20 to 30 times a minute at 4,625 kilohertz in frequency. The incessant tone gave the station the moniker, the buzzer. Many believe the tone is manually created, but it isn't the noise that's shocking. It's the voice that interrupts it on occasion. On a couple occasions, a Russian has broken into the beeping broadcast to announce names and numbers. Many believe these break-ins are code of some sort, though no one's been able to break the code. Even stranger, Swan Lake by Tchaikovsky interrupted the broadcast in 2010. This is after 30 plus years of nothing but buzzing and beeping. The Swan swam back into the buzzing after around 40 seconds, after which the station was then taken over by what seemed to be a rather exuberant poltergeist. In the background, you can hear shuffling, faint banging, and thumps, and even voices speaking gibberish. This mysterious noise could have been purposefully created to throw listeners off even more, or it could have very well been a mic accidentally left on in the room. Whatever the case, future listeners would continue to be sporadically serenaded with Swan Lake every now and then. On September 7th, 2010, it was announced that the new call sign was MDZHB, Mikhail Dmitry, Zhenya Boris. This announcement was succeeded with new codes. The station continues to buzz even now, with many listeners trying to decipher the occasional codes, or at the very least, understand the purpose of UVB-76. Russia denies its very existence, though it's been found to be originating from the town of Povarvio, according to some urban exploring group. However, they claim the building it's been transmitting from is abandoned. Since the time of this exposure, However, the source has seemingly relocated. This only adds to the mystery. So what could UVB76 be? Some theorize it's a military emergency channel. Others think it's a secret code, but it's possible that UVB76 is just your average everyday numbers station. This is an illegal radio broadcast at a specific frequency, which is used to transmit information to spies and other shady types in the form of codes, and the very buzzes and beeps you hear on the channel. The white noise would be ignored by your average Joe, but would be clear to anyone who knew how to decipher the code. Where's Alan Turing when you need him? Number 2. KLYE Callsign. One of the most intricately planned broadcast interruptions came on September 14th, 1953. From a station that didn't exist, regular programming in England was suddenly interrupted by KLYE, based in Houston, Texas. How did a TV transmission from across the globe manage to break into British TV signals, which were incompatible? Well, the officials for British Broadcasting were able to find out, or rather, find out nothing, because when they attempted to contact KLYE, they were told it had been off the air for 3 years. KLYE had been purchased by KPRC TV, and ever since, none of its call signals had been transmitted. British viewers, however, proved otherwise. They sent him photographs of the strange event, which dumbfounded broadcasting officials. The BBC and KPRC TV launched an investigation into the matter, but it turned up nothing. Further investigation into the matter by none other than Reader's Digest found that KLYE wasn't the only call sign being used in England. Rather, TV station call signs from the Soviet Union, the US, and South America were popping on British tellies. The problem was that slight inaccuracies, and some not so slight ones, like the Soviet Union call sign being written in English, proved the call signs weren't problems in transmission, but rather a hoax. But why would someone want to claim that British tellies were picking up call signs from all over the world? Well, if money talked, it would say, "Because of me, dummy." It seems that a business venture involving a revolutionary television that picked up transmissions worldwide without an antenna was the source of the issue. The theory goes that, in order to entice investors, some scammers reproduced call signs from international TV stations and transmitted these call signs to a small part of England. They also prompted owners of this fake technology to photograph and report the transmissions, so that investors would be enticed and ultimately cheated out of their money. Too bad the scammers were too dumb to check whether some of the stations even existed anymore. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you've ever been curious as to what I look like in real life, then follow me on Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT with underscores instead of spaces. I also have a Twitter at YT_chills where I post video updates. I'd really appreciate it if you followed me, and feel free to send me a DM if you have any questions or suggestions. If you'd like to see more of these videos in the future, then hit that subscribe button because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Number 1. The Max Headroom Incident. For those of you who aren't old enough to know who Max Headroom is, all you've got to know is that he was already the thing nightmares are made of before one of the most nightmarish broadcast interruptions occurred. In 1987, Max Headroom was a fictional British AI character set against geometric, hand-drawn backgrounds, attempting to appear like computer technology. Although quite witty, the electronic, distorted, stuttering voice made the purportedly computer-generated character a bit creepy. On November 22nd, he became even creepier when a hacker interrupted a Doctor Who broadcast on WTTW and the 9 o'clock news on WGN with a string of dark images in his likeness. The broadcast signal intrusion happened in Chicago, Illinois, and occurred on 2 separate TV stations, 3 hours apart. First, the pirates attempted to break into WGN, but their intrusion was only partly successful. Next, they successfully busted into The Horror of Fang Rock, an episode of Doctor Who, managing to interrupt the program with a full 90-second pre-recorded video parody of Max Headroom on WGN.
I'll get you a hot drink, man.
I've done some dry clothing.
The culprit was wearing sunglasses and a Max Headroom mask, with a sheet of corrugated metal moving in the background, similar to the actual backdrop of the Max Headroom show. In the video, the fake Max Headroom called WGN pundit Chuck Swirsky a frickin' liberal, after which he laughed, moaned, screamed, and repeated a number of product catchphrases and slogans, including Coca-Cola's, while holding a can of Pepsi. Funny because Max Headroom was actually a Coke spokesperson. The host also said he'd made a giant masterpiece for all of the greatest world newspaper nerds, probably referring to WGN's acronym, World's Greatest Newspaper. As funny as this whole thing sounds, it probably cost a few people their jobs, as it was found that the engineers in Sears Tower, where the transmitter was located, were not on duty when the hijacking occurred. Station spokesman Anders Yoakum told the Chicago Tribune by the time our people began looking into what was going on, it was over. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy!